This conference will now be recorded.
Well, welcome everybody to week 7 of the CISA book club. We are now more than halfway through this, so that's good news. And we've got some a bunch of you guys signed up for your test, so that is looming, and we're moving right along here. And here we are, kind of in the schedule here. We've got a few of us that are going to be kind of in the plane on March 8th, so we're going to have to change that one around. So we're skipping a week in between here in 2 weeks. And we will pick up again on the 15th. And here's our schedule for this week. Hope everybody's keeping up with their reading. More specifics on the reading.
How many of you are able to stay awake during the reading?
I do my best reading with my eyes closed.
Good thing.
The wrong answer would have been, this is the reading.
Boom, 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 boom.
Okay, and here's basically the chapter coverage from the Peter Gregory book, and some of the questions you'll see might, bleed a little bit outside of this range, but you're going to see, you probably already run into that, where there's a lot of those questions where either the question themselves or the answers, both right and wrong, kind of go outside of the chapters a little bit. Quite a few line items related to auditing on this one.
For those of you guys on the phone that have done the reading, which everybody has, right? Are there any of those areas that are more troubling than others?
For me, it's been about trying to adopt the audit mindset versus the assessor frame. As you mentioned, there's a lot of audit stuff the last time, and I want to think in terms of gap analysis and remediation roadmap as opposed to just a more binary answer.
I'm with you there. Anybody else have anything that kind of sticks out? I'll take that as no. So these next few slides are something that I put together from what I was seeing in the book and what I got from the flashcard slides. Clark, if you could advance the screen. So these are some quick things. I would grab them from the presentation and study these, because these are areas where it gives you kind of a high level. If the question has anything to do with significant cost and time saving, they're looking at prototyping. If anything has to do with top-up testing methods, it's prototyping, etc. So this is a good one for development type of methodologies. Keep in mind, though, that object-oriented system development is not actually a software development methodology. Instead, it's a programming technique. But I put it kind of in the same bucket with these things. If you'll go to the next slide. The next slide covers PERT-CPM-Gantt, earned value, function point, and Timebox. I find that when I'm answering the questions, going through them, function point analysis and PERT get me. And so there's something about the questions that just seem so similar to me. But again, this is just a few little high-level things that you can look at and keep in mind when you're going through those questions. And the next slide. This one
go back to that slide, please. Ah, great. I just was capturing the information. Thank you.
Ah, very smart. Okay, the next slide.
Thanks.
And this one is about check digits. And what I found interesting was, and we had some notes on it last week, but it combines parity bits or checksum or CRC. So it's like it gives you these great flashcards and says, anytime there's a transmission error, it's going to be this, this, or this. And that wasn't extremely helpful to me. So I found this note out there that talks about if you have this choice, it gives you the level of preference for each one of those as to which one you should choose. And the next slide. This one is, a duplicate. Sorry, next one. Next one.
What just happened?
I think you went backwards instead of forwards. Could that be? I don't know. Let's see, we had check bits. Yes, I accidentally had it in there twice. My bad. That's my second mistake on the presentation today. Sorry about that. So I think we're now ready to go into questions. Or, maybe this is a good point to bring up EDI. I don't know if any of you have run across EDI type questions, electronic data interchange. I found that the Peter Gregory book was light to nothing on EDI. So I found in a different book that I have, which is a CISA Review Manual, 26th edition, some information specific to EDI. And I have scanned all those pages, and we're going to be putting it out there with the presentation so that you can have those pages to review the EDI.
Yay, thank you, Sherry.
Yeah. And then there was a recommendation from last week that as we were going through the slides, we might have been going a little bit too fast. So if anybody is not ready for the next question, please feel free to speak up because, I'm good to go after 12 if we run a little bit longer. I don't know about everybody else, but, we want to get through the questions. But, if there's something you want to talk more about, please speak up. All righty, question number 1. Which of the following can be seen as a group of projects and time-bound tasks that are closely linked together through common objectives, a common budget, and intertwined schedules and strategies?
A program.
That would be correct. On this one, there's a bunch of questions where they're basically trying to get you to determine the difference between, programs, projects, portfolios, that kind of thing. I think on this one, the key term when they talk about objectives and strategies, that way they're really talking about the program as opposed to the portfolio. Question 2, which of the following by definition has a specific start and end date?
A project.
Yeah, project.
There we go. An initial business case would generally derive from which of the following?
C?
That would be correct.
Honor roll.
One of the things we're one of the things on feasibility that I've seen before was basically you can interchange that with the phrase, should we do this project?
Yes, can we go back on that, please, Clark? Because I was actually looking between project management office and project portfolio that you would have either the PMO with a portfolio that would then lead to a feasibility study out of the portfolio as opposed to directly into a feasibility study.
Yeah, everything that I've seen in the reading, both in the Peter Gregory book and some of the ISACA branded literature, they always have a feasibility study as kind of step number 1. That's like before, risk analysis and all that other good stuff. And you'll see that a lot, especially when you see, there's kind of a sequence of events, and feasibility study is generally the first one out of the gate.
And another thing about the business case is they state that the business case actually looks at the feasibility study, so you know that it has to have been done as part of the business case.
Alrighty, on this one, which of the following is generally not considered one of the de facto standards and organizations for project management? This is going to be one of those kind of, strictly a definition type answer where you basically need to know the terms. I thought this one was a little bit tougher even after kind of looking all this stuff up.
De facto standards and organizations. So, I mean, standards, is not. Okay, okay, I didn't see the not. Okay. I would say SPICE. It's either A or C.
You guys are killing it. You're ready to take the test. It's all just, our program is working.
Well, I'm kind of cheating because I have my PMP.
Okay. Well, we've all.
I guess on that one, it's kind of important to know that IPMA stands for International Project Management Association. Helps to know acronyms.
Yeah, right. This is some of the stuff is from the Peter Gregory book, and this was an ISACA resource book. This was actually the 24th edition, which is a little bit older, but there's that IPMA definition right there in the bottom. Which of the following is most effective in controlling application maintenance? I actually thought this question was a little bit tougher.
So the following is the most. Controlling application maintenance. Yes, I agree with Greg. C is popping out there.
Yeah, you guys are smarter than me because I was really thrown off where they're saying user approval. But that is correct.
Okay.
Ready for the next one?
Yes, please.
Before implementing controls, management should first ensure that the controls This is one of those where none of the answers are really wrong, but we're looking for the best one, the first one.
I'd say hey.
You're really on it today. You're getting them all right.
Killing it.
Good job.
I just want to go back on this one for a second here. Yeah, kind of going back to that that timing hierarchy that we were talking about, where we've seen so many questions in the past where risk analysis or feasibility study are kind of the base things. That one, I guess, is going to go along with this one. Number 7, which of the following is used to ensure that batch data is completely and accurately transferred between two systems? And this goes along with that slide that Sherry showed earlier.
Definitely B or C. I'm just trying.
I think the key term here is going to be batch data.
I'll check some. Oh my.
So I think this is one of those that Sherry was talking about. Like it's, it's what's the difference between a checksum and a control total in the context of this question?
Yeah, I think when you're talking about control total, that's going to be more, the big picture of the whole batch. When we're talking, sums and check digits, that's really kind of a smaller piece, individual transaction.
I guess in this one, if you check and the control total is the same, you wouldn't have to go and do a further investigation at a lower level.
I see what it's saying here. It's not as easily recalculated. So it's, in some ways, for ease of processing.
Yeah, I actually think this explanation is pretty good.
Yeah. It's very auditor-ish. That's financial systems, if you will. Well, this is a good question.
During the development of an application, the quality assurance testing and user acceptance testing were combined. The major concern for an IS auditor reviewing the project is that there will be
Oh. If you improperly document it, you're going to fail your functional testing.
Anyone else?
I'd go with B. I think that because they're combining them.
Yeah, on these, what we've seen on a lot of these, there's been a lot of questions, test questions I've seen that have improper documentation as one of the choices, and that, from what I've seen, is almost never the answer, because it is not so much with, I think it's not so much related to direct functionality.
Yeah, this definitely would derail it at critical junctions. Yeah. Yeah, I see. It's one of those where it's all four right, which is the rightist.
Right. Sorry about just revealing the answer just there. But the major concern for an IS auditor reviewing a case environment should be that the use of case does not automatically. And I thought this one was a bit nebulous.
I'd say D.
So going with A on this one. Let me jump back to that question again real quick here. What case does not automatically do? And as we look at this definition from Peter Gregory, you can see it's a little bit varied. And one of the things that I was uncomfortable about this definition, it says can be used to capture specifications, whereas the question says does not automatically capture, and then the answer is A, but it says can be used. So that was a little bit of a concern to me on this one. I don't know, tough.
Yeah,
I thought this was a tough question.
The other piece where they do not, the third paragraph, they usually do not create source code that is ready for implementation and testing. That's why I went for the inefficient code.
Could you go back to the question again?
Sure.
Yeah, it's easy to tell why you defaulted to that one when you look at the answers that are there.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
But I guess if you look at the big umbrella would be the capture of the requirements.
Right.
Number 10. When implementing an acquired system in a client-server environment, which of the following tests would confirm that the modifications in this registry do not adversely impact the desktop environment?
D, validation testing. Oh.
And so this one, I could not find sociability in Peter Gregory, and this is from an ISACA book, which gives us some more definitions of all these different choices. So this is going to be one of those ones where you want to know all those terms.
Can we go back to that last sentence, please, Clark? Sorry.
Sure.
Okay, so I see what they're saying about functionality is they're looking for more traceability matrix than interoperability. I think of sociability then as interoperability testing.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Right. An organization donating used computers should ensure that this one should be pretty easy.
Yes, C. Yeah.
C. Yeah, I go with C.
Yeah, so on this one, is going to be better than A, because I mean you can't make that assumption unless you're like checking everything. The non-disclosure agreement is kind of useless, and data deleted might have been deleted securely. That's where C would be better than B. An IS auditor recommends that an initial validation control be programmed into a credit card transaction capture application. The initial validation process would most likely
B?
I'm going to go with D.
Confirm that the car is not shown as. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Wow.
I think the key word in that last question was initial.
I think you're right.
Yeah, initial.
Yeah, because you couldn't, if it doesn't match the format, you couldn't match it against a master file.
Yeah, you couldn't, you're right. Tricky question.
That one was a very bad, tricky question.
It's interesting the different perspectives that people have on different questions, because that one, on my little notes here, I thought that was really easy. But then some of the other ones that you guys are saying, oh, obviously it's this one, I'm like thinking, that's not for me.
Yeah.
13, an IS auditor performing a review of the IS department discovers that the formal project approval procedures do not exist. In the absence of these procedures, the IS manager has been arbitrarily approving projects that can be completed in a short duration and referring other more complicated projects to higher levels of management for approval. The IS auditor should recommend as a first choice first course of action that
Well, I think that formal approval does not exist. So B, make
B,
them.
yeah. I'm going to go with B. It's kind of where I live.
Yeah.
that would be correct.
Yeah.
An IS auditor is told by management that the organization has recently reached the highest level of software capability maturity model. The software quality process most recently by the organization is
A.
Yeah, and I think this one is everyone's seen this one on the CISSP as well.
Yeah. Yes.
Which of the following would be most likely to ensure that business requirements are met during software development? I thought this was kind of a tougher question.
Yeah, this is.
I'm going to take a stab at D.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Good job.
Oh yeah, that's I see here choices B and C. I was on C, but I see the D is bigger.
An IS auditor that participates at the stage of a software development project establishes that the individual modules perform correctly. The IS auditor should
Probably C. So you can take the modules and integrate them.
excellent.
Yeah. Okay. I was on the fence, but C is good.
Next question. During an application audit, the IS auditor finds several problems related to corrupted data in the database. Which of the following is the corrective control that the IS auditor should recommend? I thought this question was on one side, on one level it's really easy, but on another one it's really easy to make assumptions on this one.
I'm going to go with B. Monitoring is,
Whatever those would be a corrective control.
So corrective we know is after the fact. Post-incident.
Yeah, so A.
A is what they're looking for here.
Good
I'm
one.
going to jump into that second. The problem I had with this question when I first read it is corrupted data in the database. How do we know? They're not saying whether that's like it's corrupted after it was, we've got a good backup, or whether it's kind of corrupted as part of a, a process. It's corrupted to begin with. We're kind of making the assumption here that the data was corrupted after it was already corrected.
Okay.
But they're basically assuming that the assumption here is that something happened after the data was there correctly and after you had a good backup. When auditing the proposed acquisition of a new computer system, an IS auditor should establish that
To me, the key is B, C, and D all use forward-looking versus A is first initial.
And your analysis is correct. And IS auditors' primary concern, application developers wish to use a copy of yesterday's production transaction file for volume set is that. And I think the key word here is production.
Yeah. B. Because using yesterday's, yeah, it would production data.
Which of the following is the first step in a business project, engineering project, re-engineering project?
Between A and C.
Yeah, I think clearly B would be after A and C.
Yeah.
I guess the first would be defining it. Once you've defined it, then you can understand it.
And that is correct.
Yeah.
Doing good on these questions.
Yeah, it's really like getting the scope before you start an assessment.
Right.
That happens for you?
Rarely, very rarely.
An IS audit evaluating data integrity in a transaction-driven system environment should review automaticity to determine whether. And Sherry had a slide earlier too with the automaticity definition as well.
Say C, integrity.
Anybody else?
I'll go with B.
Uh-oh, I shouldn't have said anything.
D. Oh man. Okay.
That was a confidence killer.
Yeah.
The word for the A is atomicity.
Atomicity. Yeah.
Yeah, I think basically when they're talking about they call or not. We ready for the next one?
Yeah. Atomicity.
Which of the following is a control to compensate the programmer having access to accounts payable production data? I think this one might be a good one to talk through all four of the choices.
Access to production data.
Compensate.
I think B you wouldn't want to look at it. It seems way behind as far as the compensatory thing goes, it seems it would be way afterward.
Yeah. Well, they're also, they're basically having the issue they're asking in the question is about a programmer and here they're basically talking about a data entry person. If they're, it sounds like the report is going to be sorted by data entry person. I think B is not.
Well, I'm hearing a lot of echo. Is it just me?
I'm getting it
I'm
too.
hearing
I
it.
thought maybe it was just me.
Are we still getting echo?
No, that's better.
Oh, okay.
Hey, I muted my computer and it stopped it, so I'll just be quiet.
Which of the following is a control to compensate for a programmer having access to accounts payable production data? And so we just kind of talked through choice B, and I didn't think that one was good because they're basically, it looks like they're wanting to know what the output reports are per data entry clerk, is what that one sounds like,
Right.
and they're really asking about the programmer.
And just C doesn't mean just because they have access to production data. I mean, they could frankly, they could probably, if they have that level of access, they can do things that are under a stated amount a lot of times.
Yeah, I think that over a stated amount, that's the killer. That's the killer for that choice.
Yeah.
So I think
And then a
you've
manual
eliminated,
match.
B and C.
No, D wouldn't work having to do manual, especially in any kind of volume situation. So leaving A.
So we're down to A and B, and we're going with A. They like D on this one. I understand what you're
I
saying.
can't
about the
imagine
volume.
having that job.
I couldn't either. Yeah, that would be quite a.
Yeah, I
I'd
used to
rather
actually
look at
work
rule
in
sets all day.
I used to work in an accounting department a long time ago, and I'm kind of familiar with this process. And that was where they would. That was probably the key choke point of where they would find, you know, their last ditch effort to stop checks from going out the door was during that process. But yeah, if it's a big volume environment, I mean, a giant company, I think that stuff is pretty much all automated. All the workflow stuff happens, you know, in a on a screen somewhere. You're not looking to check back up and, you know, taking the check back up and comparing it to the checks.
Right. Yeah, I was just thinking of it in terms of scale.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of the problem on a lot of these questions. You make assumptions or you read too much into the question or not enough into the question, and that's what can be an issue.
Yeah, for me that was more along. Okay, my real world experience got in the way of the correct answer.
Yeah, that's going to happen a lot.
Yeah, understand.
The IS auditor finds that a system under development has 12 linked modules, and each item of data can carry up to 10 definable attribute fields. The system handles several million transactions a year. Which of these techniques could the IS auditor use to estimate the size of the development effort? So kind of on the tail of the last question, here where they're basically defining that, yes, we've got large scale here.
I mean, counting source size of code is kind of like adding lots of things into the document section on a rock. It's not necessarily indicative that it's good information.
Right. Plus the fact that they're defining that this is a, you know, an enterprise scale type thing, counting source line codes kind of disqualifies that one, I think. Basically, this question boils down to knowing the definitions of these terms.
Yeah. A function point to me speaks about a point in time, and white box is Yeah, like you say, definitely. I'd say definitionally between A and D, but I don't know PERT.
I think it's C.
Let's see. There you go.
That was way
So
up.
this is the definition from the Peter Gregory book. So they kind of talked about, if we jump back to that question, they're defining modules and definable attribute fields. And then as we go to that definition here, a method for estimating software development based on the number of user inputs, outputs, queries, files, and external inputs. So that kind of aligns with that, what they had in that question.
Could we go back one, please, on the
Sure.
question? Oh, you know what? I estimate the size of the development effort. I misread that.
An IS auditor is assigned to audit a reorganized process should first review which of the following. There's an awful lot of these questions in various shapes and sizes where they kind of want you to put things in, sequence order.
I think it's C, based on what you just said.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to go with A, but based on what you just said, I would agree with C.
Good job. Ready for the next one?
Please.
A retail company recently installed data warehousing client software at geographically diverse sites. Due to time zone differences between the sites, updates to the warehouse are not synchronized. Which of the following will be affected the most? I had a real tough time with this question.
Well, if it's not available, you can't get to it, but you can't get to available data unless it's completely complete through a synchronized process.
I'd say what they're looking for here is that it's not going to be, because they're updated, it's not synchronized. So I'd say D.
Did you say D as in dog?
D as in dog.
Okay. Yeah, when I was reading this, the way I kind of read it was, you've got different geographic zones, and what I kind of was thinking they were going for was the data redundancy. And so I think we kind of all missed this one.
Yeah, I guess it's the best of maybe a couple.
Yeah, it's tough to read too much or not enough into that question.
Yeah.
Not sure that one was completely fair, but anyways, I'll lick my wounds on that one. An IS auditor reviewing a project where quality is a major concern should use the project management triangle to explain that. And this one, within the Peter Gregory and even the CISA book, I thought the definition of triangle, I mean, that's kind of a little bit of a loosey-goosey term.
I like D.
I think the answer is A, but it's a bad question.
Yeah.
Agree.
Right, here's the big reveal. Yeah, I thought this was a tough one.
Yeah.
You guys want to take a moment and read that answer through?
Yeah. Well, I think the key is if a delay in the delivery time, the project will be accepted.
Okay.
Which makes sense that you could, if you extend your time, then yeah, you can do. I didn't see what they were doing that.
I want to jump back to the question real quick here. Yeah, so I think the key, within the question, the key term in there is where quality is a major concern. So the time we don't really care about.
They don't mention that it's going to increase a delivery time or anything. They just mention that, yeah, you could increase the quality if, you know, even if you decrease your resources, but you're going to affect time.
Yeah, so I think on this one, where they're saying quality is the major concern, we don't want to choose D because quality is decreased. And so the only other one that has to do with quality is A, so that's what they're going with that one.
Got it.
When reviewing a system development project at the project initiation stage, an IS auditor finds that the project team is following the organization's quality manual. To meet critical deadlines, the project team proposes to fast-track the validation and verification processes, commencing some elements before the previous deliverable is complete. Under these circumstances, the IS auditor would most likely
Sorry, Clark, my system froze.
We're doing okay on time here. I think we'll wait for you to come back here.
I think it's
D.
A or D, but okay.
I'd say you probably go to the steering committee before you went to senior management.
So Greg is going with D.
D, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Cool.
It's a tricky question. It didn't say they did this. It said they're proposing to do this. So their appropriate response is to report the risks.
Analysis. Are we ready for the next one?
Yep.
A decision support system. They're wanting us to define that. This one is not very well defined in Peter Gregory.
I think it's C.
I'm going with C just because it has the word decision making. and it's flexible.
And that is correct. And here's from a legacy ISACA guide. Decision making, semi-structured. So that would imply the flexibility. So the takeaway on this one is just, kind of get this little definition memorized here in case that one shows up on the test, since we don't really see that one in Peter Gregory.
The CISA flashcards website had a good section on the decision support system.
Oh, good. Thanks for sharing that. During the review of a web-based software development project, the IS auditor realizes that coding standards are not enforced and code reviews are rarely carried out. This will most likely increase the likelihood of a successful. And I think this is a real easy question, and I also think the likelihood of a question like this and being on a test is high.
I like that they have word dialing. I wonder how many people even know what that is anymore.
Would you like to play thermonuclear war?
Would you like to play the game?
We'll have to watch
I would say about A.
Yeah, that's being so common as a common vector, Victor.
You got your clearance. On this one, if we're ready to talk about the answer here, I thought this one was fairly easy because the brute force attack, the distributed, the DDoS, and the war dialing attack, that's really all external stuff that's really got nothing to do with the development and coding. All those B, C, and D choices, those were all really external. And then for the last question in our set today, which of the following will best ensure the successful offshore development of business applications?
They're all important, but yeah, best B.
Yeah, or A, because
Oh yeah.
you gotta be able to hold them to the fire if you need to. Best ensure.
Yeah, in some ways, detailed and correctly applied specifications would come from what's defined in a contract.
Yeah. A for 1,000, Alex.
I think it's B, since none of the above is not an option.
B takes the cake.
What does it say about A? Contract management. Okay, cool.
We all sold on that one now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That concludes our questions. More reading, more practice questions. We've got all those slides. I think those flashcard, that flashcard resource seems to be gaining a little bit of steam, it sounds like, in terms of usefulness. Sherry mentioned that last week too, I believe. Anybody schedule their exams since last week? Anything we want to do different on upcoming book club meetings?
Yes, I scheduled my exam for the 23rd of May.
Okay, cool.
Great as usual. Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys. Oh, here's the next assignment. There's the reading. This slide deck will be posted up to the Slack channel, CISA Book Club Slack channel, if anybody wants to look at it. And thank you, everybody. Our timing was really good this week. Finished right at the top of the hour here. Anybody have any last-minute comments, concerns?
No.
No, hey Clark, if you could just send me the final copy of the slides, and I'll try to get them posted as soon as possible.
Okay, doing that right now. Thank you, guys.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.